Hi, my name is Sage, and this week I'm going to do my first ever acrylic portrait. And this is my canvas, and my canvas size is 8 by 8. But first, I'm going to tell you how I got my reference photo. First, it started off, and don't judge me, my iPad's dirty, whatever, I use it a lot to make art pieces like this. But anyway, first I open up Pinterest, not sponsored, and then I find a reference. And this is the reference that I'm using. So next I open up Procreate, and then I create an 8 by 8 canvas because if you remember from before, my canvas IRL is 8 by 8, and you're probably thinking this is really gonna help with proportions, and you're probably gonna use the grid method, right? So you can fit everything in? No, I do not do that. I don't like math. I'm still gonna eyeball everything. I then import the photo into the canvas on Procreate, and then obviously I have to adjust it because it's too rectangular for this square. And then I give it a black background so then I can picture it better, before then selecting the picture layer again. And then I go into Gaussian blur and I blur it. And the reason why I do that is so that I can really see where all the values are and also not get very overwhelmed by all the details, because whatever it is happens on my canvas is gonna happen because I know I'm not gonna be able to knock out super realistic. At least not right now. But now we get to paint, yay! And first things first, I lay down a black, red, and orange mixture on my canvas so it kind of looks brown, before then laying down some blue to start the shadows. And I hated this line. I was like, oh my god, this line is so bad. But you know what? I can fix this line by adding even more paint to it. I just felt like it was off, but then I remembered what Bob Ross says. There's no mistakes, just happy accidents, and I had to remember that because my next course of action was to add even more paint. What better way at trying to cover a mistake by adding even more to it? And you may be wondering, why is your hand gripping the easel at the bottom of the screen? Is it because your easel's from the dollar store? So obviously it wobbles a little bit, but that's okay because none of us are perfect, including this easel. And you may be like, oh my goodness, now it's time to paint the face, right? Because her hood's kind of on. Yeah, except this face doesn't really look too right, and that's okay. We're layering, we have to trust the process. Once I add in her nose, you can at least tell it's a face, right? Like, it's slowly coming together. And even though she's starting to look like James Norrington's weird sister, we do some transformation. And that's the power of blending and adding in some harsher lines around the face, because obviously I was going a little bit everywhere, but you know what? It's part of the process. And now it's time to block in the shadows for the eyes. Ooh. I then let the eyes sit for a bit before then going and grabbing the yellow and mixing the yellow and the white together to make them super, super bright, as this will be the light hitting her hood. And I'm doing them really, really bright so that I can tone them down later. At least that's what I tell myself. I then add some shadows off screen before then going in with the orange and blocking in wherever I see the orange on the reference photo. Next, I go in with an orange and white mixture and hit her neck, chin, bottom of the lip, nose, and eyebrows, before then using the exact same brush and putting in the blue shadows. And no, I did not clean this brush, I am just chaotic. After that, because I have trouble focusing, I then jump around a little bit everywhere, adding some reds, some blues, and just trying my best to stay on track, even though there's lots of tracks and I'm going on all of them all at the exact same time. But then I lock in and decide, you know what, I'm gonna paint her eyes now, and I'm going in with a titanium white, obviously, ooh. And I also mix that white with some blue because that will really make it stand out against all the orange surrounding it. Next, I decide to add in her irises, ooh, and I just make them a dark color. I forget if I mixed in some brown or if they're just black at this point, but I do end up changing them a little bit later. Just some tweaks and stuff, because obviously I can't be happy the first time I do something. That would be crazy. And here I'm adding in some patterns to the hood, ooh, and one thing about me is I don't fully understand how patterns work on clothes, drawing it at least. Like, I can see it with my eyes and be like, yeah, that makes sense, but then when I try and replicate it, I'm like, you know what, that Something went wrong here. So I'm just trying my best and adding arrows and squares. And honestly, I end up really liking it, so yay! Ooh, and then here was my favorite part. I ended up taking the umber brown. The umber brown is one of my favorite colors to paint with. I don't know why, I just think it's great. But anyway, I ended up taking that and mixing it with red and really blending everything out with this color combo. And since there's obviously fire on her face that's coming from the bottom, having these like dark reddish brown tones where the shadows start to fade off really helped give that fiery effect, so everything just looks nice and warm. And then obviously I go ham with it because I just know absolutely no chill, and then bam. How long was I blending for? I don't know, but I enjoy it so much. I just love coloring skin, man, and I love doing cinematic lighting, the intense lighting, you know what I mean? It's so much fun. But yeah, that's pretty much the video. I end up doing a couple of little tweaks off screen to make the reveal at the end more revealing, but I would just like to say thank you so much for watching and embarking on this journey with me, and now it's time for the glamour shots.